Hello everyone and welcome back to the only series out there that combines the lore of Magic the Gathering with the physical cards you can win. I'm Simon and this is Friday Night Lore. Welcome back guys to this a very special episode of FNL. Why is it special? Well, because in this video, we'll be featuring the final chapter of the story of Shadows Over Innistrad. It seems like just yesterday we were following Jace Beleren through a destroyed Markov Manor, investigating clues, meeting old planeswalkers, and even a few new ones. We've watched as our beloved Angel of Hope, Avacyn, lost faith in those she was meant to protect, and now it's time for the story to close. Who else's story may close with it? In the previous chapter of SOI Lore, we found Jace finally bumping into the author of his mysterious book, Tamiyo, a planeswalker from Kamigawa. Both their curiosities have brought them to Thraben and the Grand Cathedral of Avacyn, the Mad Angel's domain. While both planeswalkers have wound up in the same place, it's with different purposes. Jace hopes to understand the illness of Avacyn in hopes of curing her and finding its source. Tamiyo, on the other hand, plans on being less active. She's here only to document the events to come and keep the knowledge on scrolls for all time. Tamiyo believes Innistrad is beyond saving, so all they can do now is observe. Just as their ideological differences were about to cause an argument, cooler heads prevailed and they agreed to assist one another. For Tamiyo, this would at least result in more available information. For Jace, it could save all of Innistrad. With a plan for the Mind Mage to sift through the mad thoughts of Avacyn, the pair were ready to face the former protector of the plane. At least they thought they were ready. Avacyn blasted through a mosaic of herself to face the disgusting intruders who threatened her plane and now her own church. Tamiyo and Jace did what they could to stop the angel, but little seemed effective. Not even Jace's powerful mind magic appeared to work, resulting in dangerous consequences. Jace was now at the mercy of a merciless angel. With the perspective shifted, we saw these events through Avacyn's eyes, and boy does she have a rough perspective. As she grabs at Jace's throat, she sees him as a monster with the mouth of a leech, whose voice forms words of blood that dribble out of his sharp fangs. She understands these two beings are not from this world, and thus, they are a threat. Monsters, looking to hurt her world, her church. No amount of logic seemed to persuade the angel. They were nothing more than malformed abominations. Tamiyo attempts to convince Avacyn of her true purpose, but she already understands her purpose, to rid the world of their scum. Yet, as the deadly banter continued, a stir came from the roof of the cathedral. The figure of a man crashed through another beautiful mosaic and landed harmlessly. Avacyn smelled his kind before. It was a blood-sucking vampire. Though, this one was different. He was ancient, powerful. A scion to be sure, but she couldn't place a name. His face was that of an endless maw of drooling teeth and fangs. But, under it, lied a layer of something familiar. The vampire blocks Avacyn from invoking her justice on the intruders. Sword drawn, spell ready, he truly had a death wish. He spoke to the angel, saying there was something wrong with her. If she would just follow him to the cellar, he could explain and fix everything. A trick, a vampire's lies to stay her spear, to keep her from her justice. These planeswalking intruders were the greatest threat to Innistrad, but this vampire was quickly becoming an even greater evil to her. Regardless of threats, the vampire stepped towards the angel in defiance of her words. Avacyn shoots a volley of holy light at him, but it slides off his armor as if it were nothing more than feathers. He continued to advance, without a care to the harm that could befall him. Avacyn lifted her spear so that it grazed the creature's malformed face, but he spoke softly. "You cannot harm me, Avacyn. I am your creator." He was right. No matter how much he wanted to remove this vampire's head, her spear refused to obey her command. A thrust would pass through him without a scratch. The words sunk into the angel's chest. They were so heavy and real. She believed them without having any reason to. As the words echoed in her mind, the face of her enemy reshaped itself. No longer was he the monster she saw him as, but just a vampire. Sorin of the Markov bloodline, her creator. Sorin had created Avacyn to protect Innistrad, to answer the prayers of the innocent, to be a force for good. Him having crafted her, he must be good too, right? As her own thoughts calmed, she turned to her previous targets, once maggots and leeches, now as they truly are. A man, a woman, Mages. Mortals, not monsters. Avacyn kept thinking, an angel is made of goodness. Is goodness made of an angel's axe? She reflected upon her own acts recently. The burning of villages, the slaying of innocents, a mother crying over her lost boy. She hadn't protected them. She slaughtered them. Were the acts of an angel good? No. So, she's not made of good either. Soren Markov, the sire of the Markov vampires and her very creator, he had allowed for her corruption. I am not your child. I am your creation. You are responsible for everything I am capable of. I was made for a purpose, and your purpose was impure. Soren Markov, I condemn you as the greatest evil of this world. She attacks her creator, believing he's the source of all the evil she's caused. But her claws and spear barely cause a sparkle in Soren's armor, and her spells are just as pathetic. Soren swipes back with the flat of his sword. No blow was drawn, but the force was enough to knock the wind out of the angel. Soren repeated his claim. She couldn't hurt him. That may be true, but her followers could. The rafters above filled with the flutter of wings. Angels, the protectors of the church, had come heeding their archangel's call. They swarmed down, attacking Soren with spells and claws alike, ripping and tearing into the vampire. Soren's power was surely a threat. He batted angels away like he was swatting flies. Some managed to slow and damage the Markov scion, but many more lay dying on the cathedral floor. He again pleads with Avacyn to come down to the cellar, a request she denies. This time, when Avacyn pushed her spear against the neck of her creator, it sliced with renewed purpose. She no longer saw him as her creator or even as a vampire. Soren was again the evil she believed him to be, and thus, her purpose was clear. Her spear cut nearly to the bone, causing Soren to growl out in pain. But even with such an injury, he continued to stand. As it started to heal over, Avacyn charged and tackled Soren through a solid column, ending it by plunging her spear through the vampire's chest. As she removed her weapon, she saw the black ooze which was meant to be Soren's heart. He truly was the monster she saw him as. But even this devastating strike wasn't enough to end the battle. Soren's wounds were already healing, albeit slowly. Still, he refused to suffer defeat. They charged each other again, locking up in a grapple. Avacyn took to the skies with Soren tightly hanging on. Blow after blow, the two traded what would be fatal attacks to anyone else. Soren grew tired, or desperate, depending on who you ask. He used the full extent of his power to force Avacyn to the ground, but not just to the cathedral's floor, through it. Crashing through stone and wood, the vampire's might pummeled Avacyn into the cellar of the church. This was where he's been trying to take her this whole time, but there was nothing there except a permanent shadow seared into the marble floor, the shadow of an angel. Soren said this was the place she was created, a place of meaning and purpose for both of them, for the entire plane of Innistrad. He offered her help once again. He can still save her mind, reshape her purpose, but Avacyn wouldn't stop. She'd never yield to Soren, her evil creator who formed her in his image. She would never be a monster's instrument. He would have to make another hell vault and trap her there. It would be the only way to stop her assault. Soren understood the law of his lands better than most, a truth Avacyn learned fighting the demons on the plane. What you cannot kill, you can only trap. Soren couldn't make another hell vault, just like he couldn't make another Avacyn, but the angel herself was wrong about one single key point. While bonds are the only way you can deal with the unkillable, Avacyn actually could be killed. Soren pointed his sword at his creation, turning his head away as to not see what happened next. He spoke ancient words, a ritual, a promise, but backwards, taking back a gift he had bestowed on another. The words brought Avacyn to her knees, as the angel withered and returned to the ash that once formed her. Her last words? A prayer. I am Avacyn. I am to protect. With the deed done, Soren turned to leave the site of his betrayal, but Jace and Tamiyo still had questions to ask the Lord of Innistrad. Avacyn was the guardian of the plane. What would happen now that she was no more? What consequences were in store for Innistrad? Soren only turned to offer solemn words. I had to, he said. Yet an echo forced its way through the church, shaking the building to its foundation. The cries of a world, or the herald of its doom. Well guys, that's the concluding chapter for Shadows Over Innistrad. Avacyn has officially been killed or unmade by her creator, Soren Markov. Soren says he had to do it, but for what reason? He didn't really care about her extracurricular activities before. Perhaps it was part of his deal with the vampire scion Olivia Voldaren in order to use her army in the fight to come against Nahiri. I guess we'll have to wait to find out. Although the last chapter has closed, we still have a lot of questions leading us into Eldritch Moon, questions I hope to explore more with the coming weeks. Before we end the video, let's unveil the giveaway card of the week. For this very special episode of FNL, I'll be giving away a copy of Archangel Avacyn, in solemn remembrance of our Angel of Hope, lost forever, probably. To enter for your chance to win this card, all you had to do is be a subscriber to the channel and leave a comment on this video. At the end of the week, I'll select a random comment, or at least the one I find the most punny, and announce them at the end of next week's FNL. Also, if you haven't already, go ahead and follow me on Twitter. It just happens to be the easiest way to contact me if you're chosen as a winner in this giveaway. You can find a link in the description below. Anyway guys, that's it for this Friday Night Lore. You guys better be happy with it because I'm giving away a card I really want to hold on to. But you know what? This concluding story for the set warranted this giveaway. Regardless, if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, subbing to the channel, and sharing it with a friend. It goes a long way in supporting future content. You can also support the channel by becoming a patron on Patreon. By becoming a patron, you not only directly fund my videos, but you also get entered into monthly giveaways for fat packs, cards, and booster boxes. If that sounds interesting, consider checking out my page linked in the description below. As always guys, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.